All right, welcome back to the Club Innovators podcast, where we focus monthly on innovative things in the private club space. With me today is my guest, Rick Coffey, who is newly with Capstone Hospitality. He is the Vice President of Business Development. Rick, welcome to Club Innovators.
Kyle, how are you, buddy? So good to see you.
Always doing well. I know we see each other often.
Yep.
But Rick, you just started with Capstone. You've been in the
Mhm.
club space for a very long time. How about you just talk to me just real briefly about your journey, but mostly
Yeah.
what you're doing now at Capstone and what you guys are focusing on?
Yeah, I couldn't be more excited, Kyle. I think you know my history here, but I started off in the club business back in 2007. I had 3 stints as a membership director up in the Chicagoland market. Loved it. It was my passion. Really dove into trying to be the best membership director I could. Really got involved in the PCMA. Love that organization as well. And then for the last 10 years, I actually made a move to the sales side of technology with a couple major partners in the industry there. But so glad to be back in membership. It truly has always been a lifelong passion of mine. For everything at Capstone, being the only company in the private club space that specializes just in membership sales, I couldn't be more thrilled to be one of the directors in that business. So I bring on our clients around the country, and whether it be where we're helping with their actual membership sales or using our Drive HubSpot CRM or yourself. I mean, you are one of the best capturers of the club story through drone and through your member testimonials and your photographs. I love it that really we can help any club out there when it comes to membership sales.
Yeah, and so obviously, right, we hear it all the time, that focused approach to membership sales and all those things. And really for people listening, I guess their big question is always going to be, how do you provide solutions, right? What is the benefit of using Capstone Hospitality and the products that,
Mhm.
Rick, how are you going to help my life, right? As a membership director, as a GM?
Well, I mean, membership to me has always been sort of an undervalued uh, placeholder at a private club. But when you think about it, when you have a full membership, everything else is better at a club. The revenues are there for you to have the best amenities available for new members in the area. Your staff is always busy and happy. We always say, rising tide lifts all ships. And I think membership does that better than anything else at a private club. And so when it comes to Capstone, again, there's no other company like us. There's always management companies, but they're more of the general practitioners if we take it into a medical field. And then you have some consultants out there who could be looked at as membership specialists, but they're not the ones actually executing the sales. And that's where Capstone comes in. And I position us, Kyle, as the surgeons because we do know the specialty of membership sales, but we're the one actually doing them, whether it's remote sales or we have somebody on site. And so that's what makes us unique. And again, we just bring a level of professionalism, accountability, and knowledge on the membership sales side that nobody has been able to replicate. And I think that's amazing uh, position for us to be in, honestly, as a company. So the more that people know about Capstone, I find that they get more excited, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and I know obviously, big core of what you talked about was that membership sales, helping out those specific things. But additionally, there's kind of a software component to it that also helps out really the management and organization of that. Why don't you talk just a little bit about that piece?
Yeah, and going back into my history, I had the opportunity to work for a very big technology provider in the private club space and built and executed and sold one of their CRMs. And CRM, I think, is a buzzword that a lot of people in the club industry know about, but they just don't really know how good it's gotten, what it can do for them. And so we as a company, we have over 35 sellers around the country, and for our partners, we need to be able to show them data-driven analytics about how we're doing, which lead generators that we're putting in place are working. And you on the marketing side of things, I know data and results are so big. And so we utilize HubSpot, which is really one of the top two, I would say, CRM platforms in the entire world. And what's so cool about what yourself have done over the last 7 years with it is you've invested a ton of capital, a ton of your time in it, and made it almost like if we go into the real estate world, you're walking into a house that's fully furnished. And so you could get HubSpot fully baked out for how a membership director, a marketing director, a communications director would need it to work. And they don't have to do the tough part, which is to build out the system. We've done that for them. We've got multiple price tiers, as you know, that gives different, benefits based on what a club really needs. But again, the more people that see Drive, which is our HubSpot CRM instance, the more they get excited about it.
Absolutely. So kind of turning the page here. I know that you recently just went to the Golf Inc. conference, if I'm getting that right.
You
Tell me a
are.
little bit about that conference, how you enjoyed it, and really kind of what the layout was if someone hasn't been there before.
Yeah, so Golf Inc. is a publication in the private club space and the public space, to be honest with you. And every year they do a summit, and it brings in people from golf course ownership. Many of the owners attend this conference. A lot of people from the big management companies are there as well, public, private. And it's very neat because they break it out into tracks. So if you're an owner, if you're a marketer, if you're, looking at private clubs, there's different tracks. And for the 3 days, you can go to various sessions and hear from industry leaders in that. And I had the opportunity to be part of the private club track this year with a couple friends of mine. And, what we talked about in our session was, best practices of clubs that are seeing growth in a post-COVID world. And that's really what I highlighted, Kyle, was that clubs are telling us, and it's obviously true just from the sample size of clubs that we talk to. More and more clubs are having to get back into the sales world and selling the memberships that they have. During COVID, a lot of people became order takers, and it was just you take the application, you take the money, all good. But we're now in a world where we have to go through a sales process again. And so I took everybody at Golf Inc. through the 7 steps of the sales process and gave them my best practices in each of those 7 steps as if it were to pertain to a private club sales process. And it was awesome. It really was a good time to go through that. I think the attendees found it to be beneficial. And I think I'm going to be doing some of those talks around the country, either through the CMA chapters or the PCMA chapters. And I couldn't be more happy to do so.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I really love the fact that they do different tracks for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not that I'm saying any conference I've shown up to, but there's probably nothing worse than showing up to the conference when you're in one aspect of the business and not really having anything for you. So having different tracks that you can attend, and maybe it's not even something that you do, but something you're interested in learning more about.
Yeah.
Obviously I do marketing. That's what I do, but I'm always interested in learning about sales process and all these different things because these are people I market for. So the better I can understand their process, the better I can do my job, right?
Yeah.
And that's an important piece to it, is just having that overall general knowledge. But then if I really want to dig down to marketing, I can go down that marketing track and find those people.
Yeah, they do a great job every year. And what I've noticed is a lot of these conferences right now, AI is sort of like the thing that everybody wants to know about. And I applaud Golf Inc. for taking AI and bringing it into each of the different tracks on how it can benefit each of those different areas. So it was a really good event. It was out in Vegas, so everybody, had a good time, obviously, as well. But, I think for this podcast, if I have the chance to be a regular attendee on it, which I would love, I think we just bring in some people who are on site at clubs, talk about how membership is going there. The Club Innovator name, I think, just leads to us trying to find people who are doing well and giving their insights on, especially membership. I think that's where we keep it because we are so focused on memberships. And I just can't wait to see some of the future episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you're listening or you're watching out there, this is kind of a big piece of what we like to do. If you work in membership or membership adjacent, we want to talk to you. We want to see what you guys are doing throughout there. There's a lot of tried and true methods, but I always tell people there's never one silver bullet. So I'm always very interested in listening to how people go. Every club from club to club is different. Even from my perspective, when I drone, right, there's different holes and different layouts on golf courses and all these different angles. But the same thing for membership sales. The same lead generators that work for one club may not be great for another club, but there's this whole different set that works. And so I would love to hear people at different clubs or people that work club adjacent or anything like that talk about the methods that you do with lead generation, with membership sales, who you talk to, what that's all about. So if you're out there and you're interested, definitely hit us up. We'd love to have you on the Club
Yeah,
Innovator podcast and talk and just really pick your brain, because I think that's where we all get better, right? And that's the goal of this podcast, is
100%.
to help everyone become better at membership sales and more educated. And you do that through discourse, right? And I think talking through it with other people and getting ideas is where it matters.
Yeah, you and I mean, we talk to clients of ours in the 30 to 35 that we're dealing with, are all in different scenarios. Some of them are in deep wait lists, and we spend most of our time trying to make their communications as efficient as possible. And then we've got clubs who really need us just to purely bring in new memberships. And so, that's just the beauty of it is, again, like you said, there can be different markets, how they're doing on membership, how long they've been doing it, struggles, strengths, all of those things. And it's great to see. I know we already have a few lined up from some of our LinkedIn posts where people message us and said, I'd love to be one of your first guests, but almost like the wait list, I would love to have a list of 10 to 20 ready to go, so that we can just get this series to be consistent out there and get into people's cadence of listening.
Yeah. And I think, listen, this is part of the same way how we approach clubs as a company. And I'll be just forthright in saying this, is it's always a collaborative effort. And that's the way you want it, right? We don't necessarily refer to people as clients. We refer to them as partners.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I like about it is, look, we're going to come to your club and we're going to collaborate with you on the best way to market your club, the best way to do sales and all these things. And that's what this podcast is about. It's meant to be collaborative. It's not just going to be me sitting here or Rick sitting here telling you what you should be doing. Like, yeah, we're going to give you tips because we know what's successful, but we also want to hear from other people. We want to collaborate with them and see what they're doing. And I think that's what makes this community, fun and interesting. And since I've been in the golf world for 3 or 4 years, it's been really, really good. There's been some welcoming people that I've talked to and learned a lot from, and hopefully I've taught them some things too. So I appreciate that part.
Yeah, I know we have over 1,000 followers to the Capstone Hospitality LinkedIn page, and right now I'm in the midst of a 7 straight days of giving out some of our best practices when it comes to sales. And we're always a company that's not trying to keep all of our secrets hidden. We like to get out as much out there. And then, if people have questions on the execution side of things, that's where we get into our consultations and potentially partner with clubs. But if you haven't followed Capstone, please go to LinkedIn and search for Capstone Hospitality and follow us, because I know Kyle and myself are always going to try to put out relevant content for everybody. And that hopefully sparks conversations really about anything that we do.
Yeah, funny enough, we're releasing an article tomorrow on CRM, and the revolution of everyone transitioning from the Excel file to the CRM system, right? Because we still talk to so many clubs that are literally still doing Excel files, and again, there's nothing wrong with that, but if you want to save time, we may have an answer for you, right? So these are our, we try to put out blogs, we try to put out case studies monthly, post on data, all that stuff. So we did a case study this past month on some success stories at some clubs, obviously transition to CRM, all these different things. So definitely check us out on LinkedIn. While you're at it, if you're still listening, you're still watching right now, go ahead and like and subscribe down here at the below on the Club Innovators podcast. That'd be really great. And we'll continue to do this. Rick, I know we're going to try to do this monthly, so we're going to continue to have guests on. If you want to come on the show, feel free to reach out to us. If you have an idea of someone that you'd like to see on the show, comment down in the comment box. We'll go track them down. Yeah. The worst thing I get is a no, so I'll reach out to anyone. I've been told no by the best of them, so we'll just add them to the list, right, Rick?
Yeah. No, you're good at this, man. I've always enjoyed the podcast that you've done, so it's awesome to be now part of it. Can't wait to see some of the conversations that come out of this. And again, the best thing for Capstone is to see clubs just get healthier on the revenue side of things, and any way that this podcast can help would serve us both greatly.
Yeah, in the industry as a whole, I think we all want to see clubs be successful. That's why we do what we do. Whether it's partnering or doing all these things or giving out tips and stuff. Every club isn't perfect for us to work with, but if we can help you in some form or aspect, we still want to help you. Yeah. And that's kind of part of the community that we're in. This is our way of hopefully giving back and giving out great tips. And hopefully one day you'll want to collaborate with us, because that's the whole point of the Club Innovators podcast. So Perfect.
Awesome.
Well, Rick, I appreciate you joining me today.
Yep.
It was a little bit of a
Thanks,
short
Kyle.
one, but I know we'll get back out here next month with some guests and we'll get this rolling again. So for me and for Rick, the Club Innovators Podcast and Capstone Hospitality, we appreciate you tuning in and we'll see you next month.
Bye, everyone. See you soon.